So, how's everyone's week gone? Mine's been interesting, to say the least. Now, if you don't know, I have a 2007 Ford Focus. It's safe to say it's seen better days. And if you want to watch my first time driving it, you can view that video here. It turns out Mark II Ford Focuses, like my own, have some really bad mechanical issues. One of them being a weak and cheaply made bonnet lock system. Like you have to unlock the bonnet from the front, as if it's a transit van. There's been several people complaining on forums about their bonnet lock system breaking. Sometimes from little bumps, or even if you just close the bonnet too harshly. Not too sure what caused mine to break. It could easily just be the age of the car, or something KFC related. Anyway, back to when we were stuck in this year's lockdown. Just like in the previous 2 lockdowns, I was making sure to drive my car at least once a week, just so the battery wouldn't die, and because whipping out the jump cables every weekend is really annoying and I'd much rather spend my time in bed asleep. But me being me and having very bad time management, especially as I had no work or college to go to, one morning I go out to my car as I need to drive my sister to school, and the engine didn't turn over. To be specific, the ignition didn't even come on, which was very worrying. I then go and quickly ask my dad to see if he can turn his car on so I can use his engine to jumpstart my car and so I can take my sister to school. So as he heads over to the front of his car, a bit grumpy, I won't lie, I go to the front of mine to attempt to unlock the bonnet, only to turn my key in the bonnet lock as instructed and for it to not open. Me, in a slight panic, I try again. Several times, but there's no luck. I tell my dad and after a long sigh, he tries. Again, no luck. So my dad takes my sister to school, leaving me with a car that has a dead battery and no access to said dead battery. I'm understandably angry, especially as my college was supposed to start again that week. And like most people, I'm not too fond of the idea of getting on a bus for 45 minutes one way during a global pandemic. Oh, and I'd literally just cleaned my car the day before, interior and exterior. So at this stage, I just had a really clean 4-wheeled paperweight. So as I can't drive it to a garage because of the battery, and I couldn't even pop the clutch to start the engine through the use of the wheels, like, you know, going down a hill, because the ignition wouldn't even come on. So as a garage was out of the question, and I needed the car to be in working condition in the next 3 days, I got to researching. I found out after some frantic Googling that the plastic anti-theft system often snaps and then jams up the lock somehow, or the cable itself kind of like snaps and deteriorates due to it being cheaply made and an old car, and that close to the engine, you know, constantly being heated up. There were also several recommended ways online of how to break open the lock and get the bonnet open. So after 1 day of researching, I was prepared to take on the bonnet lock. The next day I gathered the necessary tools, i.e. a screwdriver and a hammer. I had to basically use a screwdriver as a chisel to break off the plastic screws that held the front grille into place. And then after literally an hour of pulling and tugging and getting annoyed, I just straight up ripped the grille out of place, along with like a plastic cover that covered like the front of the engine sort of thing. Next was the destructive part. Using the screwdriver and the hammer as some next level chisel, I started attacking the plastic anti-theft part of the lock. One of the methods of opening the bonnet was to smash the screwdriver into a certain place in the lock to basically just force everything back together so that the bonnet can then be unlocked. And after about half an hour of chiselling, in the rain by the way, I heard the bonnet make a very satisfying unlocking noise. I instantly dropped the makeshift chisel and yanked up the bonnet in success. Beat into submission again. Just as I was making this video to flex my now open bonnet,
I think I deserve a round of applause, thank you very much. As the bonnet is now open. Ignore that there.
a lovely old lady walked up my road, giving me a rather judgmental look. Can't blame her, it did just look like I'd smashed open someone's car. Don't worry, no police were called after I explained myself. So step one of the issue was sorted, actually getting into the bonnet, but now I had the issue of not being able to risk closing the bonnet. So I placed some scrap wood over the lock and the engine bay to help prevent the bonnet from latching shut again. Oh, and that's a bin bag I put there because it was raining. After washing my hands and warming up from the rainy weather, I hopped on Amazon and bought a very cheap replacement lock for less than £30. Oh, and shout out to Amazon Prime, so, you know, got delivered the next day. But later that evening, once my dad had gotten home from work, he helped me jumpstart the car with his. And then with the engine finally running and the front grille removed with the engine lock all damaged and just hanging there at the front of the car, I went for a very slow and local drive to recharge the battery.
I don't know if it'll focus, but I have 33 miles. Oh, and it's 2007, So.
Oh, and I had to get petrol, which meant going for a long enough drive on the very little petrol I had left so that when I restarted the car at the petrol station after refilling the petrol tank, it would actually start and I wouldn't be back to square one again, but this time stuck in a petrol station's courtyard.
What the fuck is that?
And the next day I could drive myself to college. My car may have looked like it was involved in a hit and run, but it comfortably got me from point A to point B, although the prevalent warning on my dashboard about the bonnet being open was rather annoying. And then when I finally got home later that day after college, this annoying issue was nearly sorted. Again, I gathered the necessary equipment, this time being a 10mm socket wrench, to take off the 2 bolts holding in the actual lock itself. And then I had to unplug this little sensor / electric thing. And finally, I had access to the faulty piece. This piece of shit. It's often the plastic cross-shaped section that breaks, but like I said before, in my case, I reckon it was the cable that's inside the actual rubbery tube. But now I could attach the bootleg replacement piece, which was a little finicky, but I got there eventually. And my bonnet could finally open without the use of a chisel. So now I have 2 keys for this car, the original one for the central locking and everything, and another simply for the bonnet lock, which honestly I don't mind. I'm just glad I can open the bonnet how it's supposed to be opened. And thank you for listening to my TED Talk. And if you need help with this issue yourself, I'm going to leave in the description below links to the videos I followed and the forums I followed that helped me fix the car basically. Also, the Amazon link to the replacement part that I bought will be in the description down below as well. Finally, thank you for watching and listening to my rant. I guess next time I see you will be when another part of my car decides to fail, or maybe I'll just end up crashing the car.